Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Today we have 3 brand new crazy revenge stories for you. And our first story will tell us about what can happen if there's noise and it interferes with your neighbor. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave comments so we know what kind of stories you love the most. Downstairs neighbors wouldn't turn down the music, nuked them from orbit. Flashback to 2014 or so. I moved out on my own in 2013 and moved into an old house converted into a 2-floor apartment directly across from my future in-laws. The downstairs neighbors were loud, blaring music at all hours. Yes, all of the hours. Wouldn't cut the grass or take out the trash on our shared schedule. Crappy neighbors, but never bothered me directly. The guy was pretty chill when sober and would turn the music down a little when I texted him. He was okay until his girlfriend moved in. Now add shouting matches to the mix, and all of a sudden, my request to turn down the music make him turn it up. I can barely walk on my super thin floor without her banging on the ceiling with the broom. I was okay since I'm a heavy sleeper and could sleep through anything. My wife moved in, and I quickly found out that she is quite the opposite. Fan on, turned at a certain angle in the doorway of the bathroom, door closed halfway, blackout curtains with them taped to the wall so zero light comes through. Zero sounds other than the fan. You get the idea. I told her that we can't expect them to remain silent when she's ready for bed. We need to be reasonable. But the wall-rattling music needs to stop during the night. She hated it during the day, but I told her there's nothing we can do then, so she'd go to her parents' house a lot during the day. I talked to the neighbor guy, and he said, "Yeah, man, that's cool." But it turns out the girlfriend wasn't having it, and his attitude then changed to, "Yeah, well, it's our house, so you can go F yourself if you think you can tell us what to do, and you can move out if you don't like it." Something definitely had to change once she was pregnant, and then the baby came. So I did the only thing I could do. I fought fire with fire, and maliciously complied with the law to a T. I could only report them for noise after 11 p.m. I now forget the morning hour when the noise could start, but I believe it was 9 a.m. My dad has these huge old concert speakers in his garage, professional grade, black leather bound, 5 feet tall, 3 feet wide, and a pretty nice vintage stereo amp. He has 2, but my apartment was so small I only had room for 1. We replaced our coffee table with this thing, laid it face down onto our thin office carpet. Tired of his crap tunes, I tested this Geneva Convention breaking device when they weren't home. Holy cow. I had to take everything down from tables, counters, and shelves because they would shake off. I prepared audio files to feed the stereo. I was giddy like a kid with a new Christmas toy. I turned it on when I left for work and got my wife up to send her to her parents. I came home from work and hung out at her parents until it was close to bedtime. They resisted for 3 days. On day 2, I found a pile of manure on my doorstep, but it didn't faze me. I cycled between sine, saw, square waves, and clashing chords, marching music, Washington Post march on loop, preaching clips. They weren't just atheists, but outspoken anti-Christian, so it was a must. The most stupid songs you could think of. Captain Planet theme song, chicken dance, etc. The poor old house rattled in ways I didn't think possible. The vibrations from the sin wave would make your vision blur. I eventually got a text from him that read, "Sorry, man, you can stop now." I did not. He needed a few more days to let it sink in. Plus, I had so much fun putting it together. They complained to the police and the landlord. There was nothing they could do since I wasn't doing anything wrong. I didn't even hear music during the time of peace to follow. It was so quiet. They would build up their courage and try again every few weeks when I wasn't home, but my wife was. I then showed her how to tame the beast so she could let it loose while I was away. I had to give them a spanking every now and then, but they learned. They were so happy when we moved out. "Sorry, man, you can stop now." Best text apology ever. I'm so glad you didn't, though. And our second story. I, as a former store manager, deliberately hired a thief as my replacement. I was let go from my job as a store manager. The company I worked for was abusive to both me and my staff. Some examples, there are a lot more, would be the owner/upper management coming to the store and chasing the staff around while snapping their fingers and saying, "You're not working hard enough. Go, go, go." The owners and upper management coming to the store and telling me how fat X-employee is. The owners/upper management spreading rumors about the staff and I. The owner/upper management screaming at us over the phone loud enough that customers could hear it. A month or so before I was let go, I had to pay a dispute wherein I explained bluntly, but professionally, how they needed to pay me because it's the right thing to do. They had promised me extra pay above my salary for working hours I shouldn't have to do because of something they did, then purposely did not pay me that money. Eventually they paid me, but they really didn't like that. I stood up for myself and thus started their plan to get rid of me. One of them even stopped speaking to me altogether. After this, I was strangely given permission to hire a staff for the store. I needed one, so I happily posted an ad online and started interviewing people. It took a month, but I finally found one I liked and called their references, which came back average but good enough. A sales representative I knew saw the resume on my desk and told me I should call X business, which was not on the resume. I did, and it turned out this person had been fired for theft of money and product in the same industry of which I'm hiring for. I decided not to hire the thief. A few days after deciding against the thief, I was forwarded a resume from the owner that had stopped speaking to me. It was instructing me to interview the thief I decided against. But how did the owner get the thief's resume in their inbox? The ad was mine and forwarded only to my email, and only I had the password to the account. I followed the link back to an ad that I didn't write and posted from a different account. This ad was for a store manager, a poor attempt at being sneaky. I could have quit right then, but I had a better idea. The owners are notoriously spiteful, but I know they're also lazy and don't do their due diligence. They think they're having me hire my own replacement without me knowing. So I hired the thief as my employee, while the owners, having already seen the thief's resume, see him as a good fit for store manager. I vouched for the thief's references, knowing they'd never call them themselves. 3 weeks later, I was let go when I arrived at my store. The owner seemed confused by the big smile on my face when they told me. I was genuinely happy to be finished there. It was the worst employment experience of my life, but it was a job of necessity. I was able to collect unemployment insurance, thankfully. The thief took over managing the store, and thanks to the new store hours, the thief works 5 days a week with no staff, open to close, unsupervised. Well, I hope the thief's a hard worker. Then they'll keep him around longer. And our next story. 14 people, including me, walk out and protest. So Friday the 13th happened. It was glorious for all intents and purposes. I run day-to-day operations for a decent-sized company. We have a president who runs the company in-house. He can be tedious, overwhelming, and an all-round dick sometimes. Other times, he can be cool as can be. This was one of the times he was being an overbearing, micromanaging D-bag. As shop foreman, I take my job seriously with morale. If my guys aren't happy, good product isn't produced. If good product isn't produced, customers aren't happy. Looking toward quality control, it doesn't help when guys are overworked, underpaid, and underappreciated. Friday was one of those days that started out well, but by 6:40 a.m. it had deteriorated to crap. No, we officially don't start work until 7 a.m. After the start, it was complain about this, micromanage that, several people being cussed at and belittled. Everyone had had enough. Once in our programming office, the idea was floated by someone that we should walk out. He can't fire us all. Now, we've all joked about this from time to time, but it's never been more than a thought. We grit our teeth and bear it. That day, it was something different. After getting yelled at again for something out of my control, I finally said F it. When someone asked if I was serious, I said yes, and it snowballed from there. A total of 20 were supposed to walk out, but due to cold feet and a few taking a crap, only 14 made it. At 10 a.m., we made our move. I told everyone to wait until he'd be distracted with a machine, and we'd all clock out and leave. We all waited, but he was distracted. I gave the roundup signal, and everyone left. A few stopped for a beer to relax. We weren't intending on going back to negotiate until Monday. We met at a guy's house and discussed why we walked, what we wanted, and what our terms were. One thing was very clear. We all came back, or no one did. After talking for 2.5 hours and coming to our terms, we decided to head back after a text from him. We're now going to corner him. We were going to talk it straight, or we weren't working anymore. The talk lasted almost 2 hours, with both parties flexing their given muscles at some point, but one thing was made clear. Things were going to change, or we'd all go look for new jobs. After several people were threatened with being fired and none let go, we came to terms that benefited us. For once, our workplace had so much morale, people were excited to work again. We went back to work with a purpose, agenda, and pride. This is the first Monday I've looked forward to work in a year. Even the guys who couldn't come, the people in the main office, we stirred the pot. We've made it known we're not going to go through this anymore. I'll vouch for any of my men, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Sounds like good communication was the outcome of your collective actions, and team morale was improved. Is this a wholesome pro-revenge? I'm so happy for you. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one with more great stories and crazy people.